Hi everyone, welcome to Healnlearn.com. Today we're talking about win-win negotiations. And who doesn't want that? I know it is a term that is widely used in negotiations. Everybody wants a win-win. But in the end, what is it and how to reach it? In this short video, I'm going to give you a few tips on how to reach a win-win situation in any negotiation. And what is a negotiation? It's almost any interaction between human beings. Because even if you're describing your needs to your partner, if you're discussing where to go on vacation, if you're discussing with your team how to speed up the project that you're working on, any setting where you're in an exchange with another human being is basically a negotiation. In a win-win negotiation, we talk about mutual satisfaction. So we're not working towards defeating each other, but towards reaching each of our individual goals. And an individual goal is usually, they are completely different. We have different needs because we are simply different people. We're just made to believe that we are fighting over the same pie. But as a matter of fact, we have different needs and we can use different means to get what we want from the negotiation process. Let me give you an example that I read in Herb Cohen's book, How to Negotiate Anything, and I find it a funny example. So there was this couple that were browsing through a magazine, and the lady saw an antique clock on the wall pictured on the magazine. So she thought, oh, wouldn't it be nice if we could have this clock in our room? It would fit perfectly in the hallway, for example. And her husband responded, for sure, it's a lovely clock. But I can tell you right off the bat, I'm not paying more than $500 for it. And so they agreed. If they ever find this clock, they would never pay more than $500 for it. So 1 month passed. They were looking in antique shops here and there. They didn't find it. After the second month, 3 months, the woman finally sees the clock. And she says, oh, here it is. Now, unfortunately, it has a price tag that says $750. Horror, horror, what do? We said we have a cap of a budget of $500 for this clock. Well, the man said, well, leave it to me. So he walked up the salesperson and he said, well, I noticed this small clock that you have on the wall. I can also see it has some dust on it. And, it's kind of attractive. I'll tell you what, I'll give you $250 for it. And he waited. And the salesperson said, sure, it's yours, take it. Surprise, surprise. So how did the guy react? Was he happy about the price tag? That he actually got it for $250 less, half the price they had set the budget for? Not really, because his first questions were, is there something broken on this clock? Or, damn it, I should have actually offered $150 and not $250. So the couple went home with this beautiful clock and put it on their wall. And this gave them sleepless nights because they started waking up in the middle of the night to see if it's ticking right, to see if there's not something broken in it. The guys thought, oh, it actually felt a bit light, and so on and so on. And why did this happen? Although they actually managed to achieve the negotiated price. It happened because the couple had different needs. They had unconscious needs, maybe in most cases, unrecognized needs. They wanted to negotiate a bit, to build trust. They wanted to make sure that they've bought something for value, that had value. Actually, they would have been much better off getting the clock for $497 because this would have satisfied their unconscious needs, unrecognized needs, psychological needs, whatever they were. And so the guy who sold them the clock for such a low price actually deprived them of those needs because they didn't go through the entire negotiating process. And the negotiating process is all about getting to know our needs, each other's attitudes, each other's goals, beliefs, and building trust. Of course, everybody talks about building trust, but it's true. The negotiation process is a psychological process. but we should understand that the process outside of the formal negotiation is actually where negotiation takes place, because this is where people get to know each other. This is where they hang out together. That's why there are men cliques. That's why there's women networking, because you get together and you go in an informal negotiation process where you get to know each other, you get to know your attitudes, and afterwards you can approach the party with a proposal or with or enter negotiations, because you know what to expect. Otherwise, let's say you're at a negotiation, you offer somebody coffee, they'd say, oh, the person wants to make me nervous, or whatever. They don't know what your intention is behind offering anything. Okay, maybe this is an extreme example. In any case, now I'm going to give you 3 tips of how to improve the negotiation process. That also refers to your life in general, because it's your relationship with people, so that you can improve the final outcome of what you're negotiating for. Tip number 1 is very simple. Just listen. Ask open-ended questions. Listen to what the person has to say, what their needs are, what their beliefs are, what their attitudes are. This is how you understand the person more. Don't try to, in this process, impose your views, impose your approaches, your ideas, and so on. It's all about getting to know the opponent. If you call them the opponent, you can call them a collaborator if you like. My second tip is to approach the person with a positive attitude, because very often we have pre-existing information about somebody that might not be very positive. For example, in a work situation, it would be that somebody is very hard to deal with, very obnoxious, and so on. We've all had such cases when we've been forewarned about somebody. And yet, if you approach the person with a different attitude, you'll get a different outcome, because people tend to respond and fulfill our expectations. If you put a lot of trust in somebody and tell them, I rely on you, I know that you're a trustworthy person, they will respond because they know this is your expectation. And of course, don't get me wrong, there are all kinds of exceptions in the world. I'm generalizing, but it is true that whatever expectation you put in someone's behavior, they'll respond accordingly. And tip number 3 is to lubricate your talking. I know it sounds hilarious, lubricate your talking, but it is a way to soften your speech. And probably I'm not the right person to tell you about this, because I've had many instances when I've made mistakes about not lubricating my speech. But then I have a lot of experiences when I've corrected it and tested the lubrication of speech, and it has had amazing results. So let me give you an example. If I asked my partner, give me a glass of water, or honey, would you please bring me a glass of water because I'm busy doing something on my computer. In both cases, you're asking for the same thing, but it's about the manner in which you ask, the tone of voice, and of course, the lubricating words. But these are the basic things you should know about the process. The process is key because it clears up the psychological needs of your opponent, and the process helps you get to know them, and it is the bulk of the negotiation. If you haven't yet, subscribe and hit the bell.